All right, this is Karen Barbie, the baby boomer belly dancer, and we are back for another episode. This is such an exciting podcast, isn't it?
Yes.
Y'all listen to the other ones? Yes?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, my guests today are Cindy and Carmita, and it occurred to me when I listened to the last podcast that it would be nice if I would let you guys introduce yourself and say how long you've been belly dancing and, anything else you might want to say. Cindy? Wait, is this hard? It's going to get harder.
I usually need at least 5 seconds to plan what I'm going to say. So my name is Cindy. I have been belly dancing since 1989. I started in St. Louis with the wonderful Salwa with Aleem Dance, and then joined Caravan when I moved here in 2000, and I've been with Karen ever since.
It's a long time.
A long time, yeah. There's still people who have been with you longer than me, though.
There are. Yes. Yeah. Carmita.
Hi, my name is Carmita. I started belly dancing with Karen in 2016, and pretty new.
Relatively speaking.
Yes.
Relatively speaking. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, our topic today is workshops. And I think we should first define what that means, workshop in the belly dance world. And y'all feel free to chime in here. I'm going to say what I think it means. I think it means like this idea of a one-off a la carte learning experience aside from maybe anything you're doing on a continuous basis. It's just this one little blip in your journey where you're learning maybe a specific thing from a given person, and it's up to you then to figure out how to assimilate that into everything else you're doing and to make use of it in subsequent opportunities that you may have. Yeah? And maybe that's what workshop means everywhere. But I just felt like as a studio owner, I wanted to really make sure we're clear on that definition. This is and a workshop teacher. This is one of those little continuing ed kind of things, like you see, I said, okay, y'all are going to break me of this habit. It might not happen tonight, but please help me break that habit. It's happening off to the side of your normal learning or your normal work. And if it's going to have any impact on what you do, you are going to need to consciously, actively work on employing whatever you learned there into your normal behavior, right? Right. Okay. So I just want to give a little bit of background for me with workshops, because that was kind of all I had when I was first learning to belly dance. My sister is going to be a guest on this podcast at the end of this month. She's making my brother come along too, because she's chicken. It's hilarious. Anyway, he's never belly danced a day in his life. Whatever, we'll have a good time. Anyway, she and I went to workshops non-stop when we were trying to figure out this belly dance thing. By the time we started going to workshops, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. She's 13 years older than me. And we would go to workshops in Dallas and Houston and Dallas. And ever so often, there'd be one in San Antonio. I know Stefania. We all know Stefania here in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. She had sponsored a couple of workshops here in San Antonio. But most of them, we were going out of town. And we would hear one teacher say, always, always, always do this. The next teacher would say, never, never, never do this. And we are sitting there trying to cobble together, her with her Hawaiian dance background, me, a child with mostly ballet and jazz, trying to set up some kind of structure for ourselves in this new belly dancing thing based on what our other learning and our other dance forums had taught us, and then extended into this really inconsistent information we were getting from various workshop instructors. And it was scary. And if you wonder why I'm so ridiculously structured and detailed now, I think this is a part of why. When you come from that kind of thing, that's what you tend to go for. So for me, workshops have been huge. I don't know how Barbara and I would have figured things out if we hadn't had workshops. There was really no one teaching in San Antonio on a consistent basis when we were learning. Little 6-week courses here, 6-week courses there, mostly beginners, but nothing really progressing beyond it. Dallas and Houston were where the markets were for that. That's where we went for the workshops. But we are children of the workshop, Barbara and myself. And again, having to come in and impose that structure and some logic to it on top of what we were learning. But that's what built my vocabulary and started building my thought processes about all of this kind of stuff. And so I would say I attended my first workshop sometime in the 70s, I would guess, I know I taught my first workshop in 1989, and it was at a place where they forced me to have a dance name, but that's another story.
I have to ask, what was your dance name?
My dance name was Carré. I just dropped the damn N. Because to me, it's like, okay, dance names end in vowels. Okay, I've got 2 in my name. How can I work with these? Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. So anyway, I taught my first workshop in 1989. I've taken them nonstop, and I heard that one. It's fascinating how, and this is what I'm going to start getting you guys into, so pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say. It's fascinating how over the massive time I've spent in this dance, how my focus shifts. Like in the first workshops, it was like, I need some cool steps. I need some cool combinations. Oh, that's so cool. Look at that. She does a figure 8 and then she does an undulation. That's so neat. I've never done those things back to back. I'm going to do that and everything. And then it starts turning into this. How is she hearing the music? Well, that's interesting. And then it starts turning into like where I am now. How is she teaching this? How is she breaking this down? I wonder why she's doing it in this order, like looking at it from a teacher standpoint. So, and that could have been the same workshop instructor, sometimes the same content even. But as you continue through your journey, like watching a movie over and over, I can still watch Lion King and pick up something new. You just change your perspective, So, all right, Cindy, you've probably been taking workshops a while since you said you started dancing 100 years ago.
Yeah, and for a long time in the very beginning, I called myself a workshop junkie because I went to every single one that I could find that was close enough to get to. And it didn't matter who was teaching it or what they were teaching. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a workshop, I've got to go. And I was the same way you were, Karen. It was like soaking up every little thing I could possibly find. Yeah, that's a cool step. And, oh, that's a really cool piece of music they're using. Where did they get it? Oh, let me buy the CD. The very beginning, that's what it was. But in my first workshop, I had only been taking classes for about 3 or 4 months. And it was a workshop that Salwa sponsored in St. Louis. And so, of course, I had to go. Mm-hmm. And as I look back on it, it was actually one of the better ones I've ever been to. It was given by Suhaila, mm-hmm. and she did a really awesome job. But it wasn't until I branched away from that I started to realize that there was a much bigger world, because at the time Salwa was basically teaching the Suhaila format. Mm-hmm. And then I took the workshop with Suhaila, and it was more of the Suhaila format. And then I got away from that, and I was like, wow, there's so much more. And that really spurred me to do more and more workshops so I could see everything, everyone's different perspective, and all the different ways of executing and dancing and performing this art form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, the workshops in the old days, and a good number of them even now, are a weekend's worth of activities. I mean, back when we used to go places, I'm assuming that maybe that'll happen again someday. But I think that in general, if you had to set up that standard workshop weekend format, I know that it was certainly the case for 95% of the ones I'd taken and have taught. It was, you come in on Friday, there's some kind of a welcoming party on Friday, for the instructor, and there's some performances going on. And then the classes start Saturday morning. There's classes all Saturday morning, and you have a break for lunch. Classes all Saturday afternoon. And then you have a break where they basically convert whatever room you were taking the workshop in into a show space. And then they have this massive performance that night. Many of the participants of the workshop dance. Whoever's teaching the workshop dances. And then Sunday, more classes by that. And ordinarily back in the day, and somewhat still today, although less common, and we'll get into this in a moment, all of that was from one instructor. Mm-hmm. So you got to see, I know, look at Carmita, the new girl. She's like, what?
Yeah.
One instructor? Yeah.
For the whole weekend?
Yes. The entire weekend with one instructor. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But my point being that when you're in that data collection, step collection, costume investigating, I need some new music mode, there was certainly the content of whatever the workshop instructor was providing, but then there were the shows too. And man, could you get some good stuff out of those shows. And so it was just, when you're first starting out, it was just this immersion in potentially new material. And you know, I don't blame you for being a workshop junkie on the front end of your dance career, because it really helps you sift and sort and develop some preferences too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Carmita.
Yes.
Have you ever been to a workshop live?
Yes.
Okay, well, because I know you're going to be able to help out a lot when we start talking virtuals.
But yes, boatloads of virtuals. Yeah, but my first workshop was actually in Houston. It was on a Thursday, a Lebanese Simone workshop. I had a lot of fun. It was my first workshop. It was curiosity driven. You know, I'm still relatively new to belly dance, so I didn't know how the whole workshop, whole weekend, performances, competition thing was. So it was mostly curiosity based. Yeah. But I just cannot imagine having one teacher for an entire weekend. I mean, yeah, I like the variety of having, like, I don't know, 6 or 8.
Well, then we're going to launch into this little discussion about that a little bit sooner than I thought.
Imagine a week-long intensive with one instructor.
But see, then it starts feeling more like, well, yeah, I just can't imagine a whole week with the same instructor. Right, we have short attention spans now, you know, thanks to social media. Well, and the other thing that Cindy mentioned was having a variety of styles to look at, and a variety of, you know, it's just, I like that variety.
This is just, I need to stay on topic. Like right now, I just feel myself wanting to go off topic. Don't let me, Guylan. Do not let me. The topic today is workshops, because we're talking about someone who has 4 years of dance experience.
Yes.
And someone who has 24 years of dance experience, right? And what I hear is Cindy going, but consider how cool it is to hang out with one instructor. And you're like, bleh, how in the hell?
Yeah. Well, but it's like going to a buffet and all they're serving is French fries. Come on now, you want a little steak, you want a little chicken, you want a little mac and cheese.
Really
Actually,
what
it is more like is you have a buffet with nothing but potatoes, and you have the French fries, and then you have the mashed potatoes, and then you have the au gratin potatoes.
Okay, so you're getting more specific.
Yeah.
I can understand
that. Was good, Cindy.
I can understand that. That's good. That's good.
Okay, so let's go. I'm ready. So over time, all right, so I just laid out the old-fashioned workshop weekend format. Over time, what started happening was that weekend got bigger. So, and here, let me just be brutally honest. See if the wine's kicking in here. All right, so what I feel like started happening was that there were so many workshops that everybody was going after their market share. Now, I have absolutely no basis for this. This is just me making shit up, trying to figure out some things.
Actually, I agree with you on that. Yes.
And to go after the market to take your workshop, you had to offer them a performance spot in your super duper show on your big ass stage with really great lights and a videographer that can give you a very professional video of yourself. And if you have to have enough workshop participants to pay the exorbitant rates of workshop instructors, that's a joke, because I am one. Okay. But I think some are exorbitant. I'm not. But it's expensive, even with somebody with the average rate like me. You've got to fly them in. You've got to get them a hotel. We require being fed. We'd appreciate some alcohol. It's expensive. You've got to rent the venue. Usually it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and they're very expensive. So you want to make sure that you at least break even. It'd be nice to make some money. I'm sure the sponsors would like to make some money. But in order to have enough people to do that, a lot of times you have to promise them performance slots. And now, if all you have is Friday and Saturday, oh no, now you've got 40 dancers in each show. Nobody's going to sit there through that. So you have to add another night of shows. And so I think that's how it started growing. And then, are you going to come to me? Here, I'm your chick teaching already on Saturday and Sunday, 6 hours on Saturday, 5 hours on Sunday. You're going to ask me to teach some more, and that's fine. And actually now, because of like what Cindy was saying, those intensive ideas, it can work. It can work, Carmita.
It's actually quite cool.
But I do think that that's been a bit of a sell to the market over time. And preliminarily, what that started meaning was that now you've got to hire a second instructor to come in on Friday because you're going to add a show on Thursday. So now what are people going to do on Friday? And so it just started getting bigger and bigger. And I think that because of the changing times, social media, you're absolutely right. I mean, every time I record a video, Guyland's like, that's too long. I'm like, that was 45 seconds. It's too long. Nobody's going to watch it. Okay, I understand. Attention spans. And so many YouTube learners who are going, they're watching this dancer, then that dancer, and that dancer, and this dancer, and they're trying to pick up. So that's the mentality. And so this expanded workshop format has now turned into what I think of as a catalog. You know, it's a little bit, you can just flip through and see a little sample of all these different things. And then you can decide, you know, like, hey, this guy Tito that I saw is really cool. I'm going to watch every video of his on YouTube and see what else I can figure out or whatever. But I feel like that's part of the evolution of all of that. What do you think? Yeah?
Well, even in the most recent years where you've started having the bigger workshops with more than just 2 or 3 instructors, case in point, Yaa Halla, that has a whole weekend of, 2 or 3 instructors teaching at a time every single day. And it becomes a smorgasbord. So you go through and you're like, okay, I want to take that workshop, and then I want to take that workshop, and I want to do that one, and I want to do that one, and you pick and choose.
Well, but also you have to realize belly dance has evolved because I think before in the 80s and 90s, there was really only one style, but now you have fusion, you have cabaret, you have Egyptian, and then you have people who specialize only in this style. And now there's like so many different styles. It really makes sense to have,
Well, and I think that is another offshoot of this smorgasbord type of workshop is these instructors think they have to find a niche to make themselves popular or
you do have to have
so that they can pull the students into their workshop, their session at this big workshop.
Well, and then the other thing about YouTube is that sometimes that's how I've made my decision on whether or not I want to take that workshop. Because I'll let me see what your YouTube looks like. Do I really want to spend $50 on 2 hours of that or this? So I think that,
As if so watching their performances or watching their teaching on YouTube?
Both. If it's kind of sketchy, I'm like, no, I'll pass. But usually I'll be like, oh, I want to take one with him. I want to take one with her. And the convenience of this whole social distance online thing is great because now I don't have to fly out of the country or out of the state.
So talk to us about, have you taken any virtual workshops during all of this?
Online like that? No.
I have.
Okay. All right, Carmita, the floor is yours.
And actually it was with our friend Tito. I love him. Yeah. And so it actually turned into a 2-weekend thing because he couldn't fit everything that he wanted to teach us into one weekend. And I think it has to do with his style. He's teaching a master class, so he's expecting us to already dance it a certain way. Okay, yeah, so he had his
Yeah, it's impossible to ignore him when he's talking to us.
Yeah, he had a certain style, and so it ended up spilling over into a second week. So yeah, I lost my train of thought.
That'll happen. Thanks. Masterclass just means I'm not going to explain this very well. So keep up.
Well, but he drilled it over and over and over again.
Yeah, you can drill it over and over and over again. That's funny because that reminds me of I need to say this. I didn't say it earlier. A lot of the workshops in the 70s were the follow the bouncing fill in the blank. A lot of people from the Arab world coming over to teach classes that did not have command of the English language. And so But they could dance, man. They could dance. And if kudos to him for repeating what he did over and over, because in many instances in the 70s, they couldn't even do that. They were just feeling the music. And when they put it on repeat, they might feel it a little different this time. Yes. And so if you're trying to learn, it's really difficult.
But he says that you learn it based on feeling. So there's no counting. And watch your facial expressions because it's all about feeling.
Well, that's another topic. Debbie Smith and I are going to dig into that here soon. Because I don't want to watch anybody's fucking nervous breakdown on stage. So,
well, you know, and I hate to say it, but I even have taken some workshops with American instructors who have done follow the bouncing.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Well, there's okay, I'm going to remember where we are here. When I was at camp, where I got this great cabaret dance camp with Bahia and Jamie Lynn, one of the little workshops that I taught was technical versus organic drills. And the technical drills is obviously that, you know, get your hips going this way, get your ribs going that way, get your shoulders going that way, pay attention to where your muscles are trying to seize up and where you're holding the tension, what you need to let go of to make that work, all that stuff. Organic drills would be where put on the music and just start dancing. And when I feel like I have to be aware enough, I have to be a creator and a witness at the same time. When you feel something fun happen, hold on to it. Like switch over into the part of your brain that says, what did I just do? And repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And you got to be able to do that, you know. But I don't mean to diss the whole idea of feeling. I do think that there's something to be communicated by just letting the music drive you and not sit there and, you know, in a class as a teacher, try to index through the material that you meant to cover, you know. There is something about that. It's a different, I feel like, it's a different level of student that you resonate with when you do that. Personally, I think that, but I just wanted to clear that up because that sounded really negative on my part. And then I feel too
that if you've taken more than one class with that person, it's going to be easier for you to feel it and not worry about them because you know how their style is.
Right. Very true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
But that brings up another issue. What you said, Karen, about the student, you know, resonating with a certain type of student, and it's one of the things that sometimes frustrates me at workshops is you get all levels of students, and you sometimes have workshop instructors trying to teach to all of those different levels. And you know, you're out there in a big area, you know, almost shoulder to shoulder with people who aren't necessarily doing it the same way you're doing it. They're not moving the same way you're moving, and it can be very distracting.
So, and yet, you know, you're what you're doing, kind of as a side note, is validating our virtual situation now because you don't have that problem. No. You know, last week when we were when I had Suzanne and Lisa here, we talked about the whole virtual learning experience, and this is one of the big benefits. Maybe not so much in your weekly class instruction with your little local teacher that you've gotten to know and you're getting your foundation from, which was our primary topic last time. But here, in this workshop setting, this may be a much better thing because your point is an excellent one. And it's back to that, you got to cover the expenses thing. You know, if you just say, well, first of all, and this is another topic, write these down, Guylan. Like, we've got like 20,000 topics that spew off of every single podcast, but you're letting people self-identify. If I say this is a master class, I need you to be an advanced dancer. What the hell does that mean? What the hell? I have people walk into the studio all the time that say, I'm advanced. I've been doing this on YouTube, so I really don't want to take your beginner class. And I'm like, you know, just come into beginner class. Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
But I love beginner class.
Beginner classes are great. But my point being that self-identifying thing is an issue. And so you can't help but get mixed levels. I don't care what kind of verbiage you put on your flyer or your little Facebook post. You cannot specify what you really mean that you're looking for unless you say you've had X number of classes with this particular instructor, and, you know, otherwise you're just going to get what you get. And you're right. When you're all in the same room together, especially if maybe some of the novices are your more outspoken students and they have questions like, how can I move my right foot? I'm standing on it. And, you know, and you've got like 20 professionals in the room trying to keep focused while the workshop instructor graciously addresses what just happened. That's tricky stuff. And that is a very real thing I think in most workshops, I have to think back to the last live workshop I was in, obviously over a year ago, but it's always been a factor. It's always been a factor. And a workshop instructor oftentimes either on her own or will be asked by the sponsor or other students to please rotate the room.
Oh, I hate that.
You hate that?
Because as a beginner, I want to hide out in the back. I mean, I still want to be able to see the instructor or see their feet, but if I end up in the front, oh no.
I know. Yeah. Well, again, this is not our reality right now.
That's
right
right.
now, we're in the virtual world. So
it.
Lisa made the point in the last podcast that she was enjoying doing classes virtually because sometimes her words were, if somebody's teaching a drills class and they have some really crazy combination that they're asking you to do, that was clearly directed at me, but it's okay. And I think that it's valid. You would maybe be a little intimidated to try it if you're in a room with your peers, but if you're at home and you can just turn that video off and say, let's give this a shot and see, there's some value to that. So that's a good thing.
But I
that's a good thing.
noticed the virtual workshops that I've taken, the instructors, part of the caveat is that you keep your camera on. They want to see their students. So how will we see how we can help you if we can't see what you're doing? So it's a catch-22.
It is a catch-22. And if you have 22 or more students, I really don't know how in the hell they're
40.
focusing on you anyway. So I don't know. Let me say this because it keeps popping into my head. And this is about the single instructor or two instructors versus, like on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, I saw that the best in the world, 72 hours, like 72 teachers or whatever.
Continuous 24-hour. I saw that too. I'm like, they're teaching.
Okay. So let's talk about retention, ladies.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about that. I love Yaa Halla, y'all. But even at that event, when I would go just as a student and not as a teacher, although I'm going to say they did invite me to teach there their first year. Okay. Thanks. All right. Anyway, but not every year. So there were times that I was there just as a student. And those are 3-hour workshops. And oftentimes the teacher is teaching an entire choreography. And so you walk away from that weekend with, 5 or 6 choreographies under your belt. Yeah.
No.
So this is difficult. This is difficult to retain. I believe largely because they're all in different styles, because there is no connective tissue from one to the next. If you had a teacher teaching, okay, here's my veil piece. Now, here's the way I would do a finger cymbal piece. Now I'm going to teach a drum solo. That might be totally different music. It may be a lot of different movements, but there's going to be some commonality there. And there's going to be something to glean from that,
Well, but it depends on the intention of the student. Because if they only go from workshop to workshop and they have no dancing home base and nowhere to actually perform it, how much are you really going to retain, right?
Okay. And that's okay. I'm sorry. Keep going.
But with the virtual workshops, the instructors actually allow you to view the video of the workshops. They either let you for 48 hours, some as long as a month after you've taken the workshops. So you can go back again and again and again. Whereas if you go live, once 2 hours is up, teacher is free. If you want a video, you have to purchase that outside of the
You're
class.
exactly right. Yeah.
But there's no overhead for online workshops. These instructors are doing
There's
them.
not a lot of overhead, girlfriend. There
Right.
is some overhead.
The technological.
Gylan, tell her.
I was going to say the techie stuff now, but not as much well, maybe different overhead. It depends on where they're starting from technologically. If you have no equipment, well.
There's overhead, yes.
So I have to say, for that reason, over the years, I have come to the point where if I walk in and the workshop instructor is just teaching a choreography, I'm like, okay, and I'll stand in the back and I'll learn it, and I just won't invest as much energy into it. I tend to focus on those workshops where I'm going to be taking away more of a concept type thing.
Yeah, that was my first workshop, was actually a concept, arabesque. And then there's so many different ways to use that. I wasn't so much interested in choreography, but that's because I was thinking about project band, and I wanted to have concepts or drills that I could work into project band.
Or, you know, some like a workshop where they teach you little snippets of veil movements, or ideas on how to make your performance pop, or ideas on how to listen to music, which is a lot of the workshops that I know Karen teaches these days. But those are the ones that I get more out of these days, because I understand the dancing and I can learn a choreography and I can repeat it until I'm blue in the face. But it's those extra, more intangible things that go on top of the dancing and on top of it, everything else that makes your performance special.
Go for it. Absolutely. And let me just say, I've never been a workshop sponsor, although that's probably about to change.
I have.
You have?
I have sponsored 2 or 3 workshops, yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to get to that in just a second.
Okay.
All right. But I will tell you, as a workshop instructor, the easiest, simplest, most mindless version of a workshop is to teach a choreography. Simple. So simple. It's anybody who's a teacher has probably made up a million of them, you know. Sorry, there it was. There were times I was making one up on my flight to that destination, because that's how many I've made up.
You're not the only one.
And it's simple. As a sponsor, I would demand something more out of a workshop instructor. Like, come on, man. You can teach a choreography, but I want explanation about why. Why are you doing that there? And then why, when that music repeats, are you doing something different? Why? Yep. Why? Tell me what's going on in your head, so that there's some meat there. Because maybe there's somebody in the room that's been dancing long enough for whom that's going to be interesting. The instructor gets to navigate how much time to spend on everything. And I think most instructors at the start of a workshop, I don't know if they do it online, but certainly live, you always take that little survey. Because 20% of this information matters. Because again, people are self-identifying. But I always ask, who's been dancing 40 years or more? Because I want to know who my peers are, you know? And I get a hand or two. Okay, 20 to 40 years, who's been dancing? And just get an idea. It gives you an idea of kind of, sort of ability, maybe, not necessarily, but an idea of their personal expectations from themselves, an idea about maybe how much comfort there's going to be. Like, they've taken a lot of these, so get ready for some discussion. If you've got a bunch of veterans in there, you know, just a whole bunch of different stuff like that. And so, yeah.
No, but you can't base experience.
Okay, if you start another sentence with "yeah, but," Guylan, turn off her microphone. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Or you know.
He said, at least she's not saying you should. Or you know. That's right. That's my line. Go ahead, Carmita.
You can't base experience on the number of years.
No, you can't. That's not a yeah, but. That's a yeah, and. That's exactly my point. Exactly.
I keep thinking of people who say, "Oh, I've been dancing for X number," but then when you see what's laid out, it's like,
no, you're absolutely
I think
right.
the facial expressions say it all, Carmita.
You know, your level of dedication, your level of discipline about learning, the word that nobody ever wants to say, the 3 words that nobody ever wants to say, God-given talent going in. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into how much progress is accomplished in a given period of time. Not just for this, for everything. I tried to learn tennis really hard. I have no hand-eye coordination. None. Tommy loves to tell people this, and I'm going to just say it right now. I have a 3.9 something GPA from college because of racquetball. That was my 1B, man. Like, I couldn't hit the ball like every time. But my point is, I think you know what my point is. I could have worked harder on that. I might have gotten a little better at that. Most of the time I just got frustrated, so forget it. But if you'd asked me, and not so much for racquetball, for tennis, because I had a crush on a guy at USAA and I really wanted to learn how to play tennis, but tennis is no better than racquetball. I sucked at it. If you asked me how long I'd been trying to play tennis, that wouldn't have been the way to phrase the question. It would have been several years, a lot of years. I'm not good at tennis. And so, yeah, you can be in a room of a whole bunch of people. Somebody lives in, I don't know, Spring Branch, Texas. They've never left their city. What's the population there? About 2,000?
Maybe.
Maybe. But they're the main belly dancer in Spring Branch. They dance in their little community center every weekend. They think they're the bomb. And they've been at it for 15 years. And yes, I understand. It's not all the same. So there's a vast difference. It's not, but agree. Again, that's what I was saying. We actually agree on this one, Carmita. When people self-identify, you never know what you're going to get. I want to talk some more about this, and it goes with discipline and the intention of the student, like you were saying. This idea of assimilating what you learn in a workshop. And I know that I have appreciated in a lot of our private lessons, Carmita, when you come in and you're like, okay, I took this workshop it's hard as a teacher. I'm like, oh God, okay, how are we going to figure out how to work this in to her project band song? She took this workshop, she liked these moves, or that she liked this style, and now we're going to find a way to weave it in. But you know what? That's the kind of challenge that just makes project band fun as hell, right? And so that kind of thought process, you're thinking about it all already. You're taking this workshop, how do I fold this in to what I'm already doing? What techniques, like if you're not in project band, if you're at a studio that's cranking out choreographies, or you're taking fitness classes of belly dancing, and now you've gone and you've learned these cool moves in a workshop, virtual or otherwise, and you're like, I want to do something with it. Like, what do you do about that, man? What are y'all's thoughts about assimilation with workshop experiences? At various points in your dance career. So you can.
I would have to say, unless you're really motivated to learn and grow, it's going to be a very short-term motivational factor.
I agree with Cindy. Unless you're one of those people who wants to just post random YouTube videos that I can belly dance, or you plan on doing competitions in the future. There's people who do it just for that. But I don't know. I need more. I prefer our organic Arab audiences. I prefer a more organic experience. Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and we're going to come back to this, I think. Let me write it out. I want you guys to think back in your workshop history. We'll give you a moment. We'll go to her first. Of the most elementary, for where you were at the time, for the most elementary workshop experience you had. You don't have to say any names or anything like that, unless you want to. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just want to know, and then in a minute, I'm going to ask for the opposite end of the spectrum, the most advanced workshop experience you've had. So ponder that for just a little while. I want to get a sense of, in y'all's experience, the spectrum that you guys have explored. Anyone?
First. All right. Yeah. So I was thinking about the most basic, and I'm thinking it's actually a workshop I've taken recently, and they used a song that Cindy's actually used in a choreography. And I had fun. And although it was basic, with each instructor, there's always going to be a slight style differentiation. And if I find something that I like, I still feel like, oh, it's gold. Even if that was the only little piece out of the entire 2 hours, that only little piece, because I know I'll fit that piece in. Mm-hmm. The most advanced, I think, was probably, it was a workshop I took. It was Tito's, I think. But only because he's Egyptian, so that style, I'm curious about it. I don't have very much exposure to it. Most of it's like cabaret. So for me, that was the most advanced. His technique is good. And he really goes into depth about the artist, the singer. It was Abdel Halim Hafez. Mm-hmm. It was a workshop on that, turned into a 2-weekend workshop. But I think his was the most advanced.
In terms of dance moves, or you mean because of the content and going into the depth of the singer and all of that?
Well, actually, it was a combination of both, because he wasn't doing basic moves. There was a lot of turns, triple turns, and most of the people in our class, I mean, I toggled my screen so I could see what everybody else was doing, because I'm nosy, because he kept having us repeat. I'm like, am I the only one messing up? But no, everybody was.
So good. My extension onto that then is like, of the elementary takeaways and of the advanced takeaways, how do you feel that you have used that for yourself subsequent to the workshops? What you took away from the more basic workshop and what you took away from the more advanced workshop. Are you?
They're just.
Are you using those in your dance?
I do. I try to see what comes up in improv. Usually, it's just slight stylization variations. Being able to grow a certain move or seeing it a different way. And then I realized, I've seen that before. They're just slightly different. Usually when I say I've seen that before, it's because I've seen you do it. But
Okay. All right, I'm making a note. Cindy, have you had enough time to ponder that over your...
Thank you. So probably the most basic workshop I took was an instructor that did nothing but drills movements, and very basic drills movements. She had us all go around in a circle for 2 hours. 10 minutes of this movement, and then 10 minutes of this next movement. And it was all very basic, hip up, hip up, hip up, hip up. After about 15 or 20 minutes, I walked out. I'd had it. It wasn't worth my time.
So where in your dance journey was that? Was that early on?
That was about midway.
Midway, okay.
That was about midway. And I would have to say that 2 workshops stand out as the exact opposite extreme of that. The first one was one taught by Amaya. And she taught simple routines, simple little snippets of routines. But the focus of her workshop was on selling it, performance. And she made us do that in the workshop. So it wasn't just stand there with a blank look on your face and do the movement over and over. It was do the movement and sell it. And that was an eye-opener for me. And I have since tried to incorporate that into my solo performances. It's still rough for me, but I'm working on it. The other workshop that I took was one that you gave down in Florida with Nasser on Taksim's. And that was a real eye-opener to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Gold star for Cindy for bringing me up. Carmita hasn't yet. No, just kidding. It's a joke. So I keep thinking, as you guys are talking about the headspace of a learner, what frame of mind are you in when you go into that workshop? Midway through your dance journey is exactly what I would expect. Have y'all seen my bell curve? Have I ever drawn this for you, my little bell curve of the belly dance community? Here it is. And on the low end, as people are coming in, we have the people that want fitness and fantasy. Like if they go to a workshop, whatever, maybe they'll collect some steps or whatever. They're probably over at the vending tables buying things with
sparkly,
aluminum coins on them. And then, not that there's anything wrong with that. That's fine. That's just the kind of how it all starts. We've all done it. Up here at the top, which I'm going to call midway through your journey, and I don't know, I think you're an old soul, Carmita. We'll get to where you are on this curve in a minute. Up here at the top is this, I need more steps. I need more fodder. I've performed quite a bit. People are clapping for me. How do you keep that going? I need more costumes. I need false eyelashes in every color in the rainbow. I need more props.
I need every CD music out there.
Right. I need everybody's music. I need, and because, and this top of the curve, I'm acting like people can see this. I know you can't. See what camera's on. this top of the curve is the target, I believe. If I was a workshop sponsor, these are my people right here. Because what I didn't say about workshop weekends is that you usually have walls and walls and walls of vendors selling stuff, right? And so if you're in stuff collection mode, those are great places for you too. Back in the day when they used to be live. Anywho, this top of the curve is the major market, I think, for workshop sponsors, and maybe a little over here to the edges. And I think that, Cindy, I'm going to guess that midway through your journey for you were kind of coming off of that slope some.
Yeah.
Maybe wanting to see a little bit more, okay, I got all that, what you got more? And so that's when some of the stuff that is perhaps more interesting to the larger group is less interesting to the people that have been in it a long time or coming off of that curve and looking for reasons to stay. Now, Carmita, because you're with us and in Project Band, you're just special. Project Band propels you through this curve. It does if you want it to, that's the important thing. You came in like hook, line, and sinker, wanting to digest everything you possibly could. And Project Band came very, very early in your dance career, but you've embraced it like a veteran. And so I'm not surprised at your obsession with depth while you're actually still accumulating width too. Yeah, you're a busy girl. Yes. You're a busy girl.
Yes, very.
So any upcoming workshops on the horizon for anybody, live or virtual? I just talked to Dell, Isis and Dell, this past week. Yaa Halla, y'all is on. And so
I got the Austin Belly Dance Convention online only this year.
I saw that. Austin Belly Dance Convention online only.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll probably do that one, and I'll definitely go to Yaa Halla.
For me, it depends on the teacher.
For what?
If I take it.
Oh, it depends on the teacher.
Yeah.
Well, Austin is another one of those smorgasbord teacher kind of workshops. So you can pick and choose what you want to do.
So these virtual workshops, I have no idea. Okay, let me just be brutally honest. With all the virtual workshop stuff that's come across my emails and Facebook news feed, I've not signed up for a single one. I've taken music workshops, but I've not done any of the dance workshops. Are they still packaged to a great extent for virtual? Like you have to buy all of these classes, or can you a la carte it a whole bunch?
The virtual classes that I've taken have just been, it's a 2-hour workshop on a specific thing.
Okay. So that's a sign of the times, big time, because you wouldn't fly somebody in to teach for 2 hours and then set them free. Hello. Yeah. Okay. And so even for ABDC, the Austin one, that's not going to be a package sell. Was there that much information out on it yet or no?
Not that much information yet. They just said it's going to be online only this year and that more information was going to be coming soon. But it's an entire week as opposed to just, And
I'm sure you have playback and all that like you were talking about earlier.
Well, I'm not sure with the Austin Belly Dance Convention. I think that was just instructor specific because some instructors will let you have the video for longer, others won't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Ghana. I'm reaching for my phone because I'm realizing I need to watch the time. Oh. Okay. So you were saying you're going to do ABDC and Yaa Halla.
Yeah.
You're not looking at any others really coming up?
No, I think I'm like going down the backside of that bell curve where I'm being very particular about the workshops I'm spending my money on. The other thing that I absolutely loved about workshops wasn't just the instructors and the content, but it was meeting people, other belly dancers. It was being part of a large social group. And I've made so many friends in so many cities that I'm still in touch with to this day. And to me, the virtual workshops, I'm losing that. And I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, because you're a baby boomer belly dancer like me. Yeah. Let's turn to the fetus. Are there any... Any workshops you're taking tonight after you get home that are going on in Germany, perhaps?
Or Egypt, or New York City,
Right.
or Kansas.
Are there?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
No?
Not yet. I'll check my emails tonight and see. Probably something.
Yeah. It's funny that we call this baby boomer belly dancer, but in this age of virtual, you can certainly see the like you could be my kid, man. You could chronologically be my kid. And there is that generational, I guess, thing. I don't know. I mean, you've been to, when you went to the one, have you just been to the one live workshop? In
No,
Houston?
because I did a Maya's
Like she
workshop
points at me like I'm supposed to remember everything she's ever done.
done?
She does that.
No, we did the one with Amaya at
In the studio?
Yes, you remember?
Okay,
for the
I remember.
Icon weekend, yeah. with
So
the
you've been to
DVD.
2?
Live? Oh, I guess I have only been to 2 live. Oh, that's too bad. Well, but actually, it's rather convenient. I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to
No,
fly
it is
anywhere.
extremely convenient.
And then I have my favorite instructors in my home.
You do. And here's a generational comment. And you can make yourself believe that you can tell what they're doing.
Exactly. From halfway across the room on that tiny screen propped up on
Because dance is 3D, man. I don't know how we're going to evolve. I'm sorry, what? You don't have to feel judged if you're dancing virtually. That was Skyland chiming in.
Oh.
But and again, I'll own it. I'll own it for being generational. And I was saying, I don't know what we're going to evolve into. Flat Stanleys, all of us. I don't know, those little paper dolls or whatever. What I just and it's okay, Carmita, because chronologically you could be my child. I know we're going to have different opinions on this. I can't watch it anymore on a flat screen. It's so it just doesn't work for me. And if this is our new reality, if things are going to be more virtual than live in the dance world, then I'm glad that I put in my 50 years because I won't be here much longer. This is ridiculous for me.
But it's convenient to have a mix of both.
Sweetheart, you can do this for as long as you want. As long as you're having a great time, this can be your reality.
But it is hard to transfer feeling and emotion from a screen. That would require more depth. And I think that, being virtual, it's going to require more depth of a dancer. If you're going to engage somebody's attention, you have to engage them emotionally. How are you going to get them to watch you?
I think it's going to require different depth. I don't even think we've explored the tools it's going to take to connect with somebody that is not anywhere near you, that is it's all just transmission, just digital transmission. You can't tell me. I feel moved by many dancers when I watch them live. Never have I felt moved. I don't care how big I blow up that damn screen by watching a video. No, you can feel moved. It's
once,
okay.
only once.
Okay.
Only one has actually, I was like, ooh, at the end of her virtual performance. Mm-hmm. And it was last year's GBDAC. I watched the whole 2 hours or whatever it was of it. And there was only one dancer that just...
Well, that's great. And that,
I know, I'm agreeing with you. It's going to be hard to get to that point. Mm-hmm. 1 out of 30 people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I would be curious to know, if I could run a parallel life of myself, me as an instructor, built largely off of workshops at the beginning of my dance education. If those workshops had all been virtual, what would I look like now? It wouldn't be the same. I can tell you that.
No.
It would not be the same.
You'd be one of those DVD at home belly dancers.
Yeah, I don't know.
There would be no depth.
No.
And that's the one thing that I can say about you and your performances. There's so much life to your performances, and I think you would lose that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be there anymore.
Well, thanks. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to ponder because it's going to happen. There's going to be folks who's, and I remember saying this, I was joking when I said it, but I remember saying when we started online classes, I think there's a population out there that doesn't understand why you have to physically be someplace to learn something. Huh! a growing population. And for something, and I'll expand it past dance, like the performing arts, thinking of the National Arab Orchestra and all of that. Like, I love watching their variety shows. Quite frankly, can't wait to be in a room live with them. I cannot wait. So I don't know. We'll see. And when it comes to learning, though, man, when it comes to learning and trying to mimic someone's movements, and I don't know. We'll see. And just like last week when we were talking about the just regular online classes for a studio or whatever, the results of all of this are yet to be seen. When we have, God forbid, years of this without live, we'll see. We'll see what it all turns out to look like. Right?
Right.
We'll see. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here in a second. Any final thoughts about workshop stuff? I'm excited about Yaa Halla, I got to say. Like, that's going to be the first thing that I've gone to since, so COVID started
March.
Attacking us last March, kicking our asses and our lives around last March. Before that, I don't know when the last workshop was that I went to, because I wasn't able to go to the Yaa Halla before that because it was the same weekend as GBDAC, I believe, and we had a conflict. So it's been a minute.
I think it was down in Orlando. It was Andrea's last one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been at least 2 or 3 maybe years since I've been a student in a workshop. I'm excited about being a student in a dance workshop again. Yeah. And ABGC will be virtual. Maybe I'll do part of that too. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, anyway, this is Karen Barbie, baby boomer belly dancer, with my guest today, Cindy, fellow baby boomer, Carmita, who could be our kid. Thanks for joining me, guys. It's been fun as usual.
It was fun.
All right.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.